What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Mark Roden, and today is Wednesday. It's technically Thursday, but I'm a day late this week, so think of it as Wednesday. So that means a vlog video, okay? And today it's going to be on my wonderful 350z. I have a lot of new subscribers to the channel, so in case you don't know, I drive a 350z. It's a Nissan. I love it. I love it with all my heart, but at the same time, I hate it with all my heart because it just gives me constant problems. Now, a little backstory. I bought this car. It has a salvage title. I bought this car last year, and I bought it with issues. And it took me and my dad about a month and a half to get it running on the road. It was in limp mode, and we couldn't figure out why it was in limp mode. It ended up being a bad connection to the ECU, but there was like all these other things that people touched in the car, and so we had to kind of go through everything. Well, apparently we didn't go through everything because it's having wiring issues again. Oh. Let's get into this video real quick. I'm going to give you guys a full update on the 350Z and what my plans are with it. It's not looking good, boys. It's just not looking good. I'm in over my head is a short story of it. So, in case you don't know, wiring is something that, like, not that many people know how to do because it's, at least in a car, because it's very confusing. There's over 70 different wires in this car, all going to different places. And when something happens with wiring, you kind of don't even know where to start, you know what I mean? And your boy here, even though I love cars, I'm not the best mechanic, and I don't know anything when it comes to wiring. And as much as I do love my dad, I want to try and fix things on my own, and I want to try and, you know, get mechanical knowledge. And the car runs, it's not in limp mode again, I want to make that clear. I could drive it, but it just constantly is always giving me problems with the wiring. Every time anything with the wiring turns on, the car idles weird. So if it's the fan turning on, the car will idle weird. If the headlights are on, the car idles weird. The headlights also have weird issues with them, where like this one, only a couple of the lights will turn on when it's in low beams, and then when it's high beams, the different lights will turn on. This one will turn on all the lights in low beams, but no lights in high beams. It's so weird. The wiring with the headlights alone is very janky. I don't know who wired those, but they didn't do it correctly. And then this is the big issue here. This is the culprit, and it's what I think is a problem again, but once again, I don't know. In case you guys don't remember, my last video on this car was actually installing underglow. I installed underglow, and it looked pretty good, but it ended up, every time I plugged it in, it ended up making my car idle incredibly horribly. And I was gonna plan on taking it out, but lucky for me, the mice did that for me, and they chewed right through all the wires. So the mice kind of shorted that issue out straight for me. You know, thank you a lot, mice. But anyway, this is the issue. My ECU, as you can tell, is on the ground. It's always been on the ground. You might be like, well, that's probably your problem. It's not. I promise you, it's not. The ECU has to stay on the ground, because if you put it up and you move the wires in a weird way, then it'll cause a short again. One of these wires down here, I forget which one it is. I think it's that light blue one right there. But one of these wires right here has a horrible connection. And on top of that, as you can tell up here, there's all kinds of weird freaking jobs done to try and get wires to hold themselves together again. And so one of those terrible jobs could also be the issue. But then it's like, okay, well, Mark, why don't you just deal with the connection issue down here and deal with the wiring issue right there? Well, you see, I would, sir. But that was another problem. They did the same thing with their horrible wiring all over the place. It's not just in the cabin. They did some of the dumbest things I've ever seen on this car. And I'm not even a a good mechanic, you know what I mean? But even I see some of the things that the previous owners did to this car, and it hurts. It actually causes me physical pain. The problem is they touched the wiring. That's the problem. If these guys were just realized they were in over their heads with wiring, this car would probably be perfect, man. It would be honestly great. It would be an amazing car to drive. But they did just something horrible in there. And it's just like, the problem is, I don't know where to start. That's my problem. It's like, I know everybody else that's like a really skilled mechanic is going to be like, well, it sounds like, and I'm willing to do a horrible job. I was honestly thinking that my best course of action would be to pull the motor, take the motor out, take every single wire, every single sensor, and disconnect it, take the entire wiring harness out, and go through every single wire in this car and make sure every wire does not have a short, and if it does have a short, to fix that short, and then plug it all back into the ECU with a brand new ECU connector and make everything connect perfectly so that nothing's loose in there, and then wire it all back into the motor, put the motor back in, and put it all in the correct way. I have the stock headlights now. I just got them actually yesterday. I'll have to do that. So I'll put the stock headlights back in, wire the headlights correctly, because I have a funny feeling that they wired these headlights poorly. That's why they light up so weird. But I could be wrong. I mean, they light up in the weirdest. Let me show you guys actually. So this is what they look like in low beam mode. As you can tell, there's like these little things up here. Only one of those is lit up on this side right there. This headlight, there's a little ring around it. As you can see, the halo ring right there, those are supposed to light up, but it doesn't. It only lights up here. This is low beam. This other side of the headlight doesn't light up at all, not the halo or the other thing. And then on this side, you come over here, and none of those circles are lit up, and none of those headlights are lit up. Only the halo on this one is lit up. When you turn on the high beams, both of these lights light up on this side, which is good. Neither of the halos light up, and all those still don't light up. So this one is working. The light bulbs, at least, and these are working, which I guess is good. But then you come on this side, and now just the high beam works. That low beam still doesn't work, and nothing else works in there. I have a funny feeling these idiots put these headlights in. They had to rewire it, because you do when you put in aftermarket headlights. And they had no idea what they were doing when rewiring it. And so they wired it poorly. And that could be a cause of the issue. But once again, it's like, I don't know. And it sucks. And then it's like, on top of that, this car had taillights. It had aftermarket taillights when I got it. The same thing with the taillights. The taillights were wired poorly, and they were wired horribly. So I got rid of those taillights, put these in, and that solved one issue. Where I had an issue a while back where it was like, if I turned on the lights at nighttime, the car wouldn't go over 4,000 RPMs. It was like kind of limp mode. I was in like 6th gear one time, flooring it on the highway, and I was going 90 miles an hour. So I was like, okay, there's a issue here. So I figured it out was the taillights. Now I'm thinking the headlights are another issue, because these are aftermarket too, and they're janky and horribly put out there. But then it's like, every time I look at that, I'm always like, okay, well, it's probably the headlights. I got headlights, let me do the headlights, and that might solve it. But then I get discouraged, because it's like, even if I do put the headlights in, it probably won't solve it, because I know there's a problem with the ECU connection in there, because that caused the limp mode issue. On top of that, these little solder jobs that they tried doing look horrible. I'm not, like I said, I am not a great mechanic, but these are just not well done. It's just like everything on this car was done in the most just backyard baloney way. And then you come into the freaking cabin, and that's just where the real nightmare begins. It's just like, it's just a clusterfuck down there, guys. You know? And we were playing around with it earlier, because what happened was I tried starting it, and I realized my gas gauge now doesn't work. So my gas gauge just sits on E. It doesn't work at all. And so I was like, well, I want to figure what the hell that is. It's not the gas, it's not the sensor. It's just, once again, the wiring somewhere is shorted. This car also has a parasitic draw. The battery dies randomly at whenever it wants to. It just dies. I always have to jump start this battery. The battery is only, I think, not even a year old right now, so it's not like the battery's not actually dead. It just dies. It just dies because it's got a parasitic draw somewhere. And I know it's because of a short, but I don't know where that short is. And it's just like, oh my god, it's torture. So I don't know. I love this car, and I love 350Zs, but I think I'm a little bit in over my head on this car when it comes to the wiring issues. I do know how to work on cars, relatively basic stuff though, not anything crazy. When it comes to wiring, that's a completely different story. I don't know anything about wiring, and this car has a huge wiring issue that needs somebody that does know stuff about wiring to fix it. And it kind of sucks, man. It just sucks, because as much as I love this car, I'm really been thinking about selling it lately and using the money to just buy another 350Z that's doesn't have a wiring issue. And because I love the 350Z, I don't want to get rid of I want a 350Z. I love 350Zs. I love them. I always have. But having a car that just doesn't want to work half the time, and have to like be constantly in fear that it's just going to die on you at any moment, or go back into limp mode, or something is going to break and a sensor's going to go wrong, and it's just like, it's just not fun, man. And on top of that, my oil like sensor up there, that doesn't work. It always says it's at 120 pounds. It's not. So anybody that does know how to work on cars and knows a lot about wiring in particular, let me know any ideas that you have, something that you say, like if you can give me an idea of how to go about solving this issue. I'd really like to hear it. Tell me if you think my idea of completely starting from scratch and pulling the motor, pulling the entire wiring harness, checking every single wire, making sure every wire has a nice connection, and then soldering any that doesn't have a that has a bad connection, putting it all back, making sure the connection is good, putting the motor back in, connecting everything to where they're supposed to be from factory, and none of that baloney aftermarket headlights, none of that stuff, and then going from there. Tell me if you think that's a good idea, because at this point, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards doing. I think it'd just be a good idea, but let me know. Anyway, guys, I guess that's the end of today's video. If I end up finding out what the issue is and I can actually solve it myself, or maybe my friends will help me out with it a little bit. But either way, if I can figure out and solve the issue, then I will be keeping the 350Z, because the motor is pretty healthy, I think. I'm pretty sure it's healthy. It looks good. The paint's good. It has barely any rust. Like, I have a bunch of parts put into the car at this point. I have a lot of money put into this car. I have a lot of time put into this car. I have a lot of memories with this car. I love how it drives when it runs correctly. It's a fast car, it's great, and I love the 350Z. I just always have loved the 350Z. I don't want to get rid of the car. So if I can solve that issue, then I will obviously definitely keep it, and we'll keep modifying it. But for right now, the reason why you guys haven't seen any modifications lately is because I just haven't been motivated on this car. I don't know where to start. I'm at a standstill, really. I'm stumped. It's been like this for months now, and I just kind of have been just like, what do I do? You know, what? I don't even know what to do. And I know my dad could help me out with it, but like I said, guys, I just wanted to be able to do it myself. I want to learn these things on my own. At this point, it's just not looking good. I think I got it in over my head, to be honest. I think if I sell this one and I can buy one that doesn't have electrical issues, be a lot better. But who knows? If I do get it fixed and if I can figure it out, I'll update you guys on it, obviously, while I'm doing that process, and try and teach you guys, since I obviously don't know what the hell I'm doing. And then after that, we'll go about modifying it again and just putting mods on it and making it look cool and stuff like that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. That's the update on the 350Z. I know it hasn't been on the channel for a while, but that's why the wiring issues it's really bummed me out. That's all. That's about it. But thank you guys so much. I am trying to get another car anyway, so maybe I'll end up getting another car, and this car will kind of go into back burner, but I really don't want it to. I love this car. I wish I could just keep building it and just have fun with it, but wiring happens, man. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this video was like really upsetting and depressing. That's because I'm upset and I'm depressed. I love this car. I don't want to see it go, but it's just like, it's just not looking good. It really isn't. And it's been like this forever. It's never had good wiring. It always like bogs down sometimes. I'll be sitting at red lights, and all of a sudden my idle's just like, it's died on me a couple times. It's gone back into limp mode, then come back out of limp mode a couple of times. There's something wrong with the wiring, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know how to figure it out. So that's why it's just like, I don't know what to do with it, man. I'm sorry that's a depressing video. I love the car. I love 350Zs. I think 350Zs are a great car. They are a good car. Just make sure if you're going to get one, it doesn't have wiring issues, because VQ wiring is a nightmare. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Das Vidania. Have a nice night.